privilege to introduce someone that many of you know, most of you know. He's our founder and inspiration, Richard Louv. Many of you know his books that have inspired us. Last Child in the Woods, Saving Our Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. He put words to things that many of us were feeling and helped to spark this movement. Earlier this year, the Children in Nature Network with the board of directors established a prize called the Richard Louv Prize. Now, Rich and I had to arm wrestle over that. He didn't really want that name, but we knew that that it would be meaningful to people in our movement to have an opportunity to have their work recognized by a prize in Rich's name to honor innovation in nature connection. And this, this prize is really in honor of all of the founders of the Children in Nature Network, which includes Rich, Martin LeBlanc, Amy Perchek, Mike Perchek, Marty Erickson, and Cheryl Charles. And let's give those founders a round of applause. We knew that the best way to honor these folks would be to not really put the emphasis on them, but on the great work of grassroots leaders in our network. And we did receive over 125 nominations for this year's prize. To say that it was a difficult decision is quite an understatement, and really, everyone in this room, could be a recipient of this, and we hope that you will apply or nominate others next year. But this year, we did pick a winner, and Rich is here to help celebrate and introduce this year's winner. So Rich, will you join me up here on the stage?
Thanks. First, I want to say that each of you in this audience could qualify for this award. Those 120 nominations, it was brutal going through them, sometimes almost to the point of tears, because how do you choose? Often between types of programs and people who are vastly different. And I can tell you that all 120 of those nominees, they certainly could have gotten this prize. I want to thank Sarah and all the staff, Laura, for what they've done so far and will continue to do at this conference. It's exhausting work, and they've done it with great dignity, and I think you will agree with me. Thank you. I also want to say that, is this doing the back feed? I want to say that for a long time I've been saying there are two kinds of people in the world, people who do and people who write about people who do. I'm the latter. And I'm in awe of what all of you do. You are all doing sacred work in the broadest possible definition of that word, of sacred work. The prize winner, as I said, could have been any one of you. The winner this year is Atia Wells of Baltimore. when I read her nomination, I was struck by the fact that she made me happy reading about her. And watching the videos of her made me happy. And it reminded me of something that sometimes we forget, that this is a happy cause. There aren't very many happy causes left in America, but this is a happy cause. It helps everybody. It helps everything. It helps every form of life on earth to have children connected to that life. And that's got to make you feel good, the work that you're doing. Atia, when she went on her first hike at the age of 22, her husband took her, and a whole new world opened up for her. She's a pediatric nurse and a mother of two, and Atia was determined to give her children and those in her community the opportunity to develop their own connection to place naturally and without the barriers of cost or transportation. In her Baltimore neighborhood, a community with few green spaces and fewer grocery stores, Atia saw potential in a neglected and largely wooded 10-acre space. Her aim was to create both a nearby location for nature-based playing and learning, as well as a community garden to provide healthy food for local residents. As you'll see in the video you're about to see, it even includes goats and other farm animals right in the city. Atia brought together a coalition of neighbors, nonprofits, farmers, and educators, as well as the National Park Service, to design a space that serves the health and wellness of community members. She leans on local knowledge keepers and enthusiastic volunteers to create opportunities to learn about local birds and other wildlife, along with the skills and tools to try camping in a safe setting close to home. A garden, a pond, a nature trail, and a growing number of chickens and goats, as I said, are now featured on the once vacant land. My friend Lisa Donahue writes, Atia has turned a life with relatively few advantages into a living example of her hero George Washington Carver's inspiring quote, "Start where you are, use what you have." For Atia and all of us, this is a happy moment for us, and I hope it's a happy moment for you. Thank you. Thanks. Get this out of your way.
I did write a speech, but Richard, you said everything I was going to say, so I don't even know what to say anymore. But I will say for a few weeks, when Sarah actually called me and told me I've been agonizing over this moment of what I was going to say, and so I wrote it all down, and I'm going to forget everything that I wrote. So I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and y'all going to take it how you take it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I remember one of the first nature-based workshops, sitting in, counting how many Black and brown folks I saw in the room, and I remember being asked to close my eyes and imagine a tree. Imagine a tree from your childhood. And I could not, for the life of me, remember a tree from my childhood. I didn't have any connection or substantial connection with trees growing up in Newark, New Jersey. But what I did remember was shimmying up streetlights and jumping like Jordan to high-five stop signs and other street signs, and my cousin running up every wall he could find to do a backflip. We were doing hardcore parkour in the projects before it became a thing in Cali. And when I read Last Child in the Woods, it was one of the first books I read when I did fall into this work. And even though there were stark differences in how I was raised and what I remember growing up in city life, and what was sort of written down in the stories of the nature-based, being raised in like a nature-based way, what I do remember coming away with from reading the book is the love of being outside, of spending time outside with my friends until the street lights came on. And when I had my 2 children, they're here, Corey and Kai, and through being a pediatric nurse, right, I've taken care of a lot of kids who spend most of their lives inside the 4 walls of a hospital room. And so I wanted to ensure that my kids were outside as much as possible to breathe fresh air and have those things that, I felt like outside with my friends. But I realized every time I kicked them out to go outside, they came back 5 minutes later, bored. They had nothing to do. And I realized that they did not like being outside because no other kids were outside, because there were no spaces for them to be outside. And so I have dedicated my life to ensure that the kids in our neighborhood actually do have a space, and that is what Bliss Meadows is. Our 10 acres away from home, also like to call it my 3rd child. This work is not easy, and I am so grateful that there are conferences and spaces like this that exist for us to network and build together. Cheryl, where you at? There she is. I remember this last conference in Oakland, California, I sort of ran into you at a table, and I regurgitated everything that was on my mind, and I was like, who do I need to talk to, and where do I need to go? Just point me in the direction. And she sort of was like, okay, you need to talk to this person, you should talk to this person. And that was back in 2019, so I've only been doing this work for about 3 to 4 years now, and it has been a great journey, and I'm just so proud of the work that we do and what we continue to do, and I'm so honored to be standing here. At first I was having a little bit of imposter syndrome, like, do I deserve to be here? And I do. So thank you.